This program is brought to you by Emory University.
People need religion because of various universal experiences that we all have to face. I'm thinking, of course, most obviously of mortality, but you can think of other areas where humans have to face very intense kinds of moments. So the moment of birth, all of the questions around suffering and illness, how people heal. These are all universal encounters that humans have and that require something more, something meaningful and something that can be transformative to people's lives. And I don't think we can really reduce why people are religious to any one particular thing, but it certainly relates to our experience as embodied human beings. Well, in the world we live today, religion cannot be contained within the walls of the church or the temple or the mosque, and in fact religion, and I would say religious sensibilities, really spill out from those institutional settings and infiltrate and penetrate just about really every area of social life, everything from economics to entertainment, obviously politics. There is a way in which we can't compartmentalize religion as a separate sphere, but in fact it really has become an important force in terms of people's motivations, in terms of people's investments, in terms of people's commitments. And all of those cut across the different areas of life that we find ourselves every day. Religion really can be found in a lot of different unexpected places. So I've written about religion and the religious experience of film going, whether you can talk about the Star Wars saga as being a new generator of mythic ideas and somehow tapping in to some of our deepest fears and most profound hopes of good battling evil, and people having the possibility to transform identities. I mean, now film is a carrier of different kinds of religious messages that I think are just as powerful for people in their everyday lives as the usual suspects of the Quran or the Bible and things of that nature. People are very concerned and preoccupied with longevity, and especially in the society we live in today, when we have certain medical technologies that can really prolong life in ways that we never imagined, and people's lifespans have grown dramatically, especially in the last few decades. And all of that really speaks to great advances, and I think it also speaks to an underlying fear of death as well. We want to live as long as we can. We certainly don't want to face our end for as long as we can put it off. But part of that obsession with longevity and long life, I think, also has to do with our obsessions with youth and our desire not just to age well, but to overcome age and to maintain a youthful spirit. I mean, these are certainly cultural messages that we receive every day, and that makes growing old in our society actually quite difficult compared with other cultures. Unfortunately, religion can be both a inspiration for great works and all kinds of altruistic activities, but on the other hand, it can also lead to the most aggressive and violent and destructive actions imaginable. Throughout history, you can find all kinds of evidence of this. Fundamentalism may not be the appropriate word, but you can certainly say most religious traditions have extremists that can really take the teachings of the religions and transform them into reasons to kill and reasons to harm, reasons to cause suffering. And I don't think any of the religious traditions are immune from that side of religion. The Bush administration really gets failing grades in how they've taken care of religion and the kind of role that it's played in the Bush administration. I think the kind of forceful, explicit putting forth of religious beliefs as an important factor in the running of government has really been a travesty, considering the First Amendment and our country's history and I think ideals around the relationship between religion and government. Well, I just published a new book. It's called Sacred Matters: Celebrity Worship, Sexual Ecstasies, the Living Dead, and Other Signs of Religious Life in the United States. It's published by the New Press, and it really is trying to argue that there's more to religious life to whether or not you believe in God. There's more to religious life than how you self-identify as an evangelical or a Catholic or a Jew, and that there are certain areas of social life that really become sacred to people, and they become great sources of meaning and identity and the potential for transformation and community. So I'm trying to look at these different sacred sources by looking across the spectrum of certain areas of social life. Some of the chapters look at celebrity, some look at sports, one looks at sexuality, one looks at violence, one looks at death. So all of these areas, I think, become very significant for how Americans understand and participate in religious cultures that are just as meaningful as their activities in the church or temple. And indeed, religious cultures that don't always contradict or take the place of those religious identities. But instead, what I'm trying to argue is that people have multiple religious identities, not just singular, monolithic identities. And that's what I'm trying to get at in this book. Part of what the book is arguing is that you can find religious commitments and investments and experiences in what might be unusual places. So in terms of celebrity, you can certainly look at Oprah as a religious phenomenon that is not about Christianity only, or Judaism only, or Hinduism only. It's about a different kind of religious nexus and culture that really surrounds this particular icon. But that's only really one example. Throughout U.S. history, you can look at the Hollywood sort of celebrity factory and find other icons who become figures that are worshipped. I mean, you can talk about someone like Elvis Presley as another one who really seems to arouse certain kinds of religious passions and activities, whether it's listening to the music and remembering a particular time in your life, or going to visit Graceland and finding that to be a meaningful experience of pilgrimage. So celebrity, that would be a couple of examples within celebrity. In terms of sexuality, there is a whole range of literature around sacred sex that really talks about the experiences of sex as a pathway to certain kinds of spiritual experiences. I talk in my book about actually someone who writes about S&M within the lesbian and gay community, and really in very explicit language talks about that ritual and sexuality as it surrounds certain kinds of acts between people as really potentially, not for everybody, not all the time, but potentially leading to experiences that require religious language. And so that's what I'm trying to get at is, what kinds of vocabularies do we use to describe experiences that rely on certain kinds of religious images or models or modes of thinking. And certainly you can find that in, again, a range of different human areas.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.